All right, I think we're on. Hello, everyone. My name is Rob
Right.
with Astrology by Rob, and my what is it? Co co what is this? A podcast? Is this a
I'm like,
my
what's he talking about?
my
I don't know. I don't
co-hump
know.
day person?
Co-host? I don't know.
Oh, there you go. I'll use that one. Co-host.
Susan Farmer from Astrology and Soul. Do you say .com at the end of yours? I know you have. Did you today?
I don't know.
It's astrologyandsoul.com
Yes.
or astrologybyrob.com. That one's easy.
Yeah. Made it really hard so I wouldn't forget it.
Well, good. I'm glad you can remember in your old age what the name of your website is.
Right. I noticed you said Susan Farmer, because it used to be years ago that I couldn't even say your name right. So,
Oh, that's true. Because it was Susan. Well, it still is Susan Jensen Farmer. Oh, that's too long for me. I tend to go into ideas all excited and like the feels, I don't want to let go of my youth. And now I'm like, that's too long. That's too
thanks for
long.
helping me out with that one.
Yeah. Yep.
I can introduce you, Susan Farmer,
Yeah. You're welcome.
astrologysoul.com. Perfect. So, what do you got going on? Well, talk about what we have going on.
So, oh yes, this Friday, really excited, is our first. We reignited, restarted, reactionized, whatevered. Too bad it's not a Mercury retrograde to redo things, right? Astrology Club of Utah. Actually, that would be really fun to look at that chart and see what was happening. Anyway,
Right.
We're restarting it, and it's starting this Friday, June 23rd, right? I keep getting it mixed up. July's June 23rd at Synchronicities in Sandy, Utah. And I am super excited and nervous about it because it's called Inquest Night, where you get to come and ask a question. What's the definition of inquest again?
A judicial inquiry.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Rob came up with the word and I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he told me, I'm like, yes, that's fabulous. So you can come with an inquiry and then we answer it through some sort of astrology tool.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say really quick, make it one question. We're already getting a few that are like more than one question. It's like, if this, then what about this? And it's one question.
Right.
So that's really fun.
Yeah, and we can talk about that question, to make sure that we have the right question,
Yes.
that sort of thing, which is totally fine. But one question.
Right. So we have that and Hump Day, this going on together. I know Rob's doing some other things outside of this. Do you want to tell us about those?
So I have my study group, my monthly study group, which is restarting in July. So that'll be
Sweet.
the 13th, which is the second Thursday of July, and it'll continue being the second Thursday of every month.
Okay.
From 7 to 9 p.m. And we are studying, like we did last year, we went through the houses. So whoever showed up, we read that house. So if you had planets in that house, if you didn't matter. We read that house for everyone who showed up. And everyone kind of does it together. So it's not like me just doing readings, So this time we're doing planets. So wherever your sun is, that's what we're going to talk about first, and aspects that your sun makes, what your sun rules, different things like that. That's what we're going to be talking about. And so whoever shows up gets a reading from everyone else who shows up. And we kind of learn and practice astrology together. So you can find that
was really
on my website. Sorry.
Sorry. I was like, I just remember you speaking about that last year and how successful that was and how other people got stuff out of it. Sorry.
Yeah. And fabulous to see the people reading, whether they were graduates of my classes or, people that already knew how to do readings and came to the class or the study group. It was just cool, and cool for me because I'm not doing all the reading. I might be steering or guiding or bringing up points to look at. I just love how good these people are, and how fun it is.
That's fun. That's fun. I was able to attend one, and it was really insightful. Just because sometimes you get caught up on your own interpretations, and you're living it. So there are things you don't see, and other people bring stuff up, and it was very nourishing.
Yeah.
It was good.
In July, the 20th, 27th, and then August 3rd, I'll be doing a kind of a mini version of astrology classes, with another friend of mine. So you'll be looking for that information. I'll give some more of that information later and through email. So look for that. And then finally, my sale on readings ends today.
That's today.
Yes.
It is, huh?
So get online, get your sessions booked. You don't have to have your session done tonight, thank heavens, but just book your session for whenever. If your birthday's in December and you want a solar return for December, book it out then. You just have to do it all tonight to get the 30% off. And so that's a huge savings, especially on a solar return. That's like $100 off almost.
Yeah, I feel like that's the highest I've ever seen you go. So that's very kind.
Yeah. So that's what I have going on. What about you?
So I have my sessions are back online, and we'll just keep it short and simple today. I feel like not going into everything. You can find my stuff at astrologyandsoul.com, and I have sessions, and that's where you'll find classes or groups. And then also my intention products, which is probably the thing I'm loving the most. I'm playing with starting a new moon group that an intention bracelet would go with. I already make an intention bracelet, or whatever someone wants. If someone wants something else, like something they already have, I can charge it with the bracelets for every moon cycle. So right now, the moon cycle bracelet for the Cancer new moon, which is July 17th, so that's in a month, it's going to be called Sovereign Heart because of some of the energies playing out with that new moon. The current new moon is Play, because it's based on a Gemini new moon and some of the stuff going on with that. So there are 2 cells on those 2 intention bracelets right now. The Play, which is going on now, I think is about 10% off to get one of those bracelets during this cycle, during this Gemini new moon cycle. And then the Sovereign Heart that's coming up July 17th is on pre-order until July 30th. So the last day of this month, or June 30th, excuse me, June 30th. And that's about 30% off. And what's cool about pre-ordering is that your name goes with whatever item I charge for you. It's either a bracelet I have, or a bracelet you buy and bring to me, or buy something off of Amazon and send to me, or bring something from your home that's special, that has some of those, feelings of heart and that kind of stuff. And I've found the people that I charge them for, it's just a special little unique thing. Like I write their name and date of birth and all their information on a piece of paper, and it's charged especially for them. And it is 30% off right now. So that's how it will be every month. But if you want to get in on this new moon cycle, and I'll have subscriptions coming up, then it would be time to get on it now, just to make sure you can get the item to me, or pick a color scheme you want for your bracelet. And then I make sure I have those, order them, put your name with it. And then they mail. Go ahead.
In the sleigh. We talked about last week. So there's been a couple days where I didn't wear it. Sleigh is like a Marsy kind of go-getter attitude, energy. And so, yes, someone once told me that I had dry skin, and
You're a crocodile?
crocodile skin. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna let you touch my skin anymore. So I have a sleigh in a lotion, and I just think it's funny that I'm putting some lotion on my hands and arms and other places, and that anyway. So this energy is. I just wanted to say it's still cool. The days where I've worn it, I absolutely feel a difference. And the days that I
Wow.
don't, like nap time.
That's awesome. That's totally cool. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think that's funny. Sleigh is an energy I struggle with. And so it's super interesting how different people have different reactions to energies and charged energies even. And what's cool is like what Rob said, he has a lotion or a cream. I call it a cream, and it was made for him. Right. So even if you don't want a bracelet, you just want a cream or whatever, you can pre-order something now. You don't want to wear a bracelet, Rob?
If you, yeah, on my alligator arms.
It's hard enough to get you to wear lotion.
Right.
So anyway, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nope.
So jump on there, grab those. Let's review. What did we go over? Do you have anything else to add to that before we move on?
Not really, other than just some enthusiasm about the Inquest night. I know we already talked about that in a minute. I just think it's such a fun thing. It's like, imagine a bunch of people showing up and the questions that you have. So it's not like, what does astrology do for me? And those kind of questions. This is like, I would show up and say, am I going to have a relationship? Or, what's my outlook of marriage?
Isn't that always your question? Like, is it like, if we had to guess Rob's question?
What is a relationship? You're right. So
it's funny because that fits your chart, right? We know mine would be totally different. That fits my chart. Mine would be like,
and so you'd look at my chart and say, here, there, but it's the whatever question's personal to you. And then we look at your chart and we discuss your question and answer the question. So it's just cool and how personalized it is. So, and it's meant to be entertaining and a fun evening. So
yeah, it should be fun, just entertaining and fun. And Synchronicities, I feel like, is such a beautiful venue.
Yeah.
I love it there when I go into their rooms. I haven't done any salt caves or anything like that. I would probably, because I'd be like, can I be alone? I don't want anyone bothering me. Get out of my space. I would want to rent the room for myself and have my own private party of people that I don't mind if they're in my space. But I have gone into all their separate rooms, and I just like the feeling there. So it's fun to be joining with them.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have a club going again, and we look forward to building it. So do everything you can to share, like this video, others, the Inquest night. If you see the email about it, or if you see the event on Facebook, share it with people so that they can make it out as well.
Yeah, we want as many people as possible, well, as can fit in the room to have fun with. And I'm just going to say for right now, you have to go to Rob's website. Mine cuts off 7 days beforehand, and we are Wednesday, so 2 days before, right? Yes. So you will not be able to book it on mine. So you will have to go to astrologybyrob.com, wherever Inquest night is on his.
You'd have to book online, and it's under workshops and classes.
Yes, it's $22 ahead of time and $30 if you just show up, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I know we had a little back and forth about that, and I think that's what we ended up with. So $22, get an astrology question and have fun and have someone really individualize it. That's awesome. It's fun.
Look forward to that.
Yes, and we do timestamp, so you got to get it in. Like, push pause on this video and go reserve your spot right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Other than that, it's been kind of a quiet week, like for feedback on things that we talked about last week. The biggie that I'm waiting for personally is the Saturn retrograde, and to see what things are taking place. I don't think I told you that. So last week I alluded to the idea of moving, moving different moves, and that I don't think I'm done. And then I found another place to park my motorhome. And
oh, you told me you were looking into it, that you saw a listing.
Yeah, I haven't seen the place yet, but it's just funny that, it won't take Saturn too long before it hits my place in my chart where it's like I've been dealing with this idea of moving, and I'm just waiting and looking forward to that, to see how that shows up again. So that's half the fun of being an astrologer, is watching some of these transits take place or build up to it, and see what the actual context is when it happens. We get some information. We don't always have all the information, but enough insights that we're like, okay, well, I was kind of planning for something in that area of life, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, Saturn retrograde, I'm definitely feeling it for me, and some of the themes that have been at play for Saturn, where it is in my chart right now, they were easing, and then it went retrograde and they are in my face again. And it's like, oh, okay, time to work on this, time to really set some structures down in this. It's the area of children in my chart, and so everyone moved out. And I was home with one child, and it was really nice, and I always enjoy that time when it's just my youngest and I, and we don't have it for very long ever. It seems like a couple months. And that Saturn retrograded, and I think it was the day Saturn retrograded, I had a conversation with one of my children about moving back in. And it was really funny, because we went through, I'm kind of like, well, these are the expectations, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to talk quiet because he's down there right now. And then we had a weekend where a lot of the issues came up, and I was like, okay. And it really stopped me, because I thought about Saturn and stopped me in my tracks, and like, okay, so what's the communication that's needed so that we don't get resentful? What do we need? What boundaries, all Saturnian things, what boundaries need to be put down? What systems do we need? That's more a Virgo thing, but systems need to be in place, and how are we going to work through this? Because I'd rather do that. I did actually have some feedback, though. I think I didn't go too into it. I got a phone call, a panicked phone call, Friday or Saturday, I can't remember which, from someone who never talks astrology really with me. And there were like 4 or 5 people with them, and they had it on speaker, and they were like, Susan, what's going on energetically? Like, what's the energy? And I was in a brain moment. So I was like, I don't know. And then I'm like, oh, wait. It's Saturn retrograde. They're like, so what does that mean? Because that was the dominant energy at that moment. And I'm like, well, that means things just feel hard. Like, they just feel harder. Some things you thought you had worked towards, it's like going backwards now, and you're like, oh, I have to look at these again. Do I want to work towards them? Do I not? Is it something I just want to be done with? And it can just feel like a time where you felt, because it was stopped in the sky, so it could just feel like moving forward in anything is super hard. And they just went on to tell me, like, oh my gosh, the past few days have been so hard. this has come up and this has come up. And even for one of the people I'm not super close to, they were like, so-and-so, they didn't want their name shared, right? Or I didn't ask permission. So-and-so is so in tune with the energies of the cosmos. And I'm like, really? I did not know that. So that was interesting. That was fun to feel. It's always fun when you have relationships with people and you feel like they maybe don't believe in what you do at all. And then you get a phone call validating it. It's like, oh, that's cool. And I'm glad you called me. I'm glad you felt comfortable calling. So what else did I'm trying to remember. We talked about Saturn, Jupiter, huh?
Venus shadow.
Talked about Venus shadow, which I don't have a whole lot of review to say about that yet. I think today I kind of did. Do you have something?
No, it's kind of to me, it's like Venus shadow, but where I haven't talked about it much in readings for a while. I'll talk about it, upcoming readings because Venus isn't too far from the retrograde. But
yes. Yeah, the thing I've noticed with that is Venus is chasing Mars in Leo, and she's not going to catch him. No. So it's almost like she's like, I'm gonna figure out what I want. I'm gonna figure out what I want while she's in shadow. I'm gonna figure out what I want to take action on, and then she's gonna go retro, and it's gonna be like, I don't know.
Change.
I don't know, but I have noticed in Venus retrograde times, because it only happens about like once a year and a half, correct? That what starts going on my mind subconsciously is I keep asking myself, do I love that? Do I love this? So if I'm trying to decide whether to keep something or not, I'm like, do I love this? And that seems to be a theme for me with Venus retrograde. So we also talked about, huh?
I was just laughing because you said a theme for you, and I'm like, do I love her? Do I love her? Do I not? I'm kidding, but
so yeah, it's funny. Mine's not usually related to people. It's usually related to things like Venusian things like clothes and objects and philosophies, but my Venus is in that type of place. Yep. So we also talked about the new moon, which I found really interesting how it shifted for me really quickly. From like this feeling of building. The Taurus new moon was about building. Or the Gemini. Yes, Taurus. Getting them all mixed up. Taurus new moon was like building something. From what you learned from the eclipse is what I found, at least, or things you went through and you were pushed in a direction. And then as soon as that Gemini new moon hit, it was almost like we talked about this a bit, it was gonna mess your mind up. And I did a video on it, like it was a strong Mercury, and then it's going to move into Cancer real quick. And those are different feelings, and Saturn's going retrograde. So how is that going to like spin you out and not to like jump off path? And I remember waking up, because it was so long ago, 2 days ago, and being totally spun out and going like, what's going on? And then I'm like, it was the new moon. Oh, I did a video. Oh, we talked about that, and kind of had to go back and calm my mind.
Yeah, you really should do a moon class like you've talked about.
Yes, before we got on.
Yeah, tracking all the moon placements and so on.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it's. I was thinking today, would I go through, like, for me, like, it is July or June. Like, I totally go by that, but my months are more divided by the new moons. I'm like, oh, now it's shifted here and I have 28 days.
She lives on a 13-month calendar.
Yes, but the ancients had figured that out. So we never have more than 12 new moons a year in our calendar, in our 12-month calendar. It can be one and something, but never more. So, okay, moving on. Are you ready to move on? Do you have anything else?
Nope, let's jump in. looks like our first biggie, since there's not a whole lot of biggies this week. It's funny though, we talked so much about like last week and different things. And some weeks it's like overwhelming how many different influences, and we have to say, well, let's just talk about the big ones because we don't have a ton of time. This week is a little bit different. It's like, is there anything else? Anything else? Anything else?
That's so nice. It's nice. So it's kind of nice to drift. I think it's going to be a hard, the hardness that we're going to have is just quieting that mind, like I already talked about. So the mind emotion connection, I think is the biggie this month. And so it's kind of nice to not have other energies coming in like, we got you, we're coming after you. I like that.
So to start off with, we moved through the summer solstice, and we are now, sun is in Cancer. And
Happy birthday, Cancers.
right.
Yes.
And so what I've always liked about sun moving positions or moving, ingressing into a sign is the idea that, you know, the sun's a luminary, and it's kind of fun to play with in readings. Wherever the sun is, like whatever house it moved into. So let's say, well, as the sun's moving around the chart, it's going to move through a house. It's going to illuminate the themes of that house. So in your chart, look for where Cancer is. And as the sun goes through Cancer, it's going to go through that house. Look at those themes. So interesting, for an example, my chart, ninth house is all about, you know, higher learning, philosophies, truths, things like that, which astrology falls into this. And I'm looking at, so this next month, how might things feel different than they have maybe the previous few months, where there's like an illumination of those house themes. So illuminating astrology, how do you illuminate more than I'm illuminating, you know? And but I'm curious to see how that's going to show up, because that's something I do with my clients and talk about those themes. And then, you know, the next month it'll be more, you know, on whatever that is in that chart. So look at that, look at the house, and pay attention to those themes. You know, let's say it was an eighth house, and that's, you know, more of a transformational house. It might be money topics, or, you know, other people's money topics. It would be, are you looking at refinancing? Are you buying a new vehicle with a new auto loan? Or are you going through some sort of deep transformation? You know, it's just interesting how those themes get illuminated. And so pay attention to it and see what you can kind of lean into or go with the flow, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know that you have a lot more to say, but that's the one thing I wanted to just point out is, you know, find it in your chart and play with that and see what you can come up with.
I love that. Yeah, I totally love that. And I wish we had a glyph of Cancer ready in case people needed to know what it looked like. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh my gosh, can I hurry and find something without looking rude so I can share my screen, and then I wouldn't be listening to your lovely, I loved the feeling of that. The only thing I would add to that is where it is in your chart and where it's illuminating, notice the qualities or archetypes of Cancer in that place, or maybe even in your life. What are you nurturing in that area of life, and what are you trying to grow and love, you know, unconditionally? I see Cancer as a sign that it just, if you get in that outer shell, you know, it takes work to get in there. if you get in there, it's a sign that will give you unconditional love and loyalty as long as you continue to deserve it. Because I think that's a Cancer life path is learning how to form some of those boundaries. And you really do, and it can feel suffocating to people or things. It's like, because you really, once that has hit that unconditional love, and you just want to nurture and grow, and it's like a mom, you take just as much pleasure in it as watching that be planted in a person and nourished and grown and seeing them successful or things or whatever. So I would add those, and intuition, I would add a bunch of those to it as well, just those archetypes of Cancer. So I would take some time to stop and really ponder this month, or these days of when the sun's in Cancer, like, have you felt a shift? And I think Rob and I were talking about that. It's hard sometimes to feel these shifts, but until Rob and I had a conversation earlier this morning about, do we really feel them? Do we not? I got off the phone and I thought, I hadn't noticed that I woke up. The sun was not in Cancer yet, but I woke up earlier than normal and thought, I need to take care of my grass. I haven't turned my sprinklers on at my home yet. And it's starting to die. It's starting to get brown. We've had so much rain. We have had so much rain that I'm like, I don't want to waste the water. Yes, I know we've had a lot of snow, but I just don't want to waste the water yet. So I woke up really feeling like this nurturing quality of, I want to take care of my grass. I normally do not wake up thinking I need to go turn on my sprinklers. Doesn't happen. Or the other thing, I moved back up to my office. I was like, wow, this is super, super weird. I've been down in like our main great room because I just wanted to be around everyone, kind of like a Gemini feeling, right? Wanted to be around everyone in the middle of the mix and work there and just kind of be in the flow of the house. And today I was like, I want to go back to my home office. And it's a mess because I pulled everything out. So I've done everything today with much more like nurturing than I did in Gemini, like putting my pillows or folding blanket. So after, only because of our conversation, did I notice the difference in how I'm doing things today. And every sign's great in their perspective ways. I just love seeing the fluidity and the flow of sign to sign. I find it fascinating.
Right.
So is there anything? So it is the solstice. Did you mention that?
Oh, only just that happened, that was the case.
Oh, okay. Yes. So Cancer is when the sun goes into Cancer, that is the solstice. So that is the beginning of summer.
Which basically means longest day of the year.
Right.
So when we look at the sun in the sky, you'll notice it's a little bit more direct overhead, coming from North America. Whereas in the winter solstice in December, its sun is setting much, or not setting, but it's a little bit south instead of directly overhead. So the sun isn't in the sky as long. I mean, we got long days right now. Go enjoy that summer fun.
Right.
So if we were living on the equator, we would see the sun directly above and just, changing slightly either side. But where we're above the equator so much, it's more dramatic. So
yeah,
are very long. I love these summer days.
I do. And I also tend to I'm loving the winter ones too, where I can just curl up and watch the snow out the window. So
until 4:30 when it's dark. Watch the snow.
Yes. Yes. So if any of you have stories, or I would also say, like, Rob and I had a really deep discussion, I felt like, about, do people even feel these? And really made me stop and think. Like it reminded me of that. What's that quote? Like, are you a human being having spiritual experiences, or are you a spiritual being having human experiences? Is that a quote? It's something like that, right?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, it's been expressed a few different ways.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, it's not really up to the energies around us I mean, sometimes it does stop us in our tracks. And we're like, holy crap, but in the way I'm thinking of it today, which that will change probably soon, is it's kind of up to us to take time to fill into it and see those little things. I've really been learning that with the charged materials I have and the energies that go into them. And I've noticed with clients, if they don't take the time, they get the benefits. But if they don't take the time to notice the benefits, then they really don't know if they're working. If
Right.
they put an energy on with intention and what they want to get out of it, and take a few times during the day to ponder and think and look at different experiences, and then at the end of the night, really think, like, did this happen at all? Kind of like a gratitude journal, right? Did anything happen? The experience is much more dramatic, and they understand how it benefits them.
Well, and like the next energy that we'll end up talking about, it might be one of those where it might be easier to feel. I think we can talk about quite a few different energies, and part of the frustration with that is, is it going to land in your chart because whether it's connected to some natal placement that you have or not, some planet in your chart or not, are you going to feel it or not? Obviously, we're not going to feel everything, and we're not going to feel everything the same way as somebody else.
Yes.
So, part of the challenge doing this work is really being able to label when is it going to feel one way for one person, and you talk about it to them, but you won't talk about it in your next session because it means nothing. And so
Right.
we talk about these energies, online here. We don't know who it's going to hit and who it's not. So we talk about maybe more general themes, and hoping that if you're one of those that does feel it, you're like, oh, well, yeah, I heard about that one on Hump Day, and so I'll just work with that energy.
Yes.
Like our next one, I don't whenever you're ready. It's a crazy energy, crazy.
Well, and I think that goes into something I was going to say. Ending that discussion is, when you were talking, I was reminded of, at least in my perspective of humans, we pay attention to the more dramatic and hard things than kind of the soft and easy. Now, for most people, depending what you have at the very beginning of Cancer, the sun moving into Cancer is going to be a very soft and easy transit. That switch isn't probably going to stand out a whole lot, because it feels probably pretty good to most people. So we're not stopping and going, oh, am I feeling more nurturing or kind towards the people I love? Or what am I taking care of? What are the seeds that I've planted that I'm really nurturing now? And this next one that you're going to introduce in a second is like, boom, I'm here. It may not be pleasant. It may be, I don't know. And we tend as humans, I feel like, to see those a little more in our life because they're harder. So go ahead and introduce it.
Who likes
Sorry.
Mars? Who likes Mars energy? Who likes Uranus energy and Mercury energy? And all combined. It's so we have Mars square Uranus, which is happening Monday, and we have
Yeah.
Mercury and the Moon joining the party between Sunday and Monday as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. So Monday. Yeah.
yeah. So
yeah.
it gives me a feel of a maverick. If Mars is that what that cowboy in the old westerns, guns a-blazing, you know, it's now spurned on by Uranus energy, which is unexpected and quick and like the rebel challenging, kind of energy. So you're meshing Mars, which wants to be fast and impulsive and willful, and you're combining that with that Uranus. And I just think how many people unknowingly are going to take that energy into work Monday and have some kind of a conflict, or they're going to create some kind of chaos. They might say some things because again Mercury's in it, so we got communication. So you go into the office guns a-blazing because you're all hyped up about something, you're being mistreated or whatever, and you get yourself into some bad situation because there was no forethought, there was no planning. It's just shooting from the hip and you go for it.
Right.
I just wonder what that's going to feel like. Now, am I going to feel it? Personally, it ties into my chart. It'll be interesting to see. And who's going to feel this stuff. And so I don't necessarily have a boss I report to, with my astrology, and it's happening in my 10th house. So it'll be interesting, what's out there. I have ideas for me, and then the readings that I do, I put that out there. Here's what it means for you. It's just the energy is kind of cool. I wish I could just follow every client around and take notes and see how they're using this energy. And it's like, oh, that's not what we talked about. No, don't do that. Oh, too late. Crazy. Now come back and tell me all about it. It'll be interesting. And it may not even be a big thing for some people. A square energy, is it's like you're forced to take action. Because of whatever, maybe conflict, you show up to work, there's been conflict brewing for a while, and the square energy says, and it's time to do something about it. And so you take an action to resolve the frustration. This action just happens to be packed and loaded with
shocks and surprises,
stuff you might regret. So be cautious working with that energy.
as you're talking, so I'm sure, I think you said it, I'm not sure, that Mars is in Leo. So Mars is taking on that Leo. It has been there for a while, but it has that Leo. It's being characterized. So Mars is its own energy, and it's coming through the Leo archetype. So, Mars can be those fights and action, like Rob said, and what do I want to fight for? What do I want to go for? Courage, but usually that's after anger. There's some anger. Like it's an angsty, I feel like Mars is angsty. And it's in Leo. So it's this kind of lion, the king energy. So I would just be watching, like, as you were talking, I was visualizing like a tyrannical king that's like just acting crazy and deciding what's best for everyone. And this is how it is. And this, like if you watch Game of Thrones, Joffrey chopping off people's heads right and left, whatever. He was a tyrannical king in my view. And then, because I've been thinking about this archetype a lot, just because I decided to do Sovereign Heart with my intention bracelet. So it's like, are you going to be that sovereign king where you rule with kindness and patience and really insightfulness? So are you going to, because it is going to be an action energy. And I don't know if any of those three words I just said fit Mars and Uranus. Probably not. Because they're not. They're fast. They are fast acting. They are get up, go, move, take action, shocking, revolutionary change. What am I going to change? How am I going to rebel? All these things. So I don't really know how kindness and all that fits into it. However, I would say if you're feeling those things, try to stop and, like Rob said, think through it a little bit. Which archetype am I taking on here? And they are fixed signs, both of them, having two totally different ways to do it, and don't change their mind real fast. Like they think what they think.
Yeah, it's like it's been brewing for a while.
It has been brewing, right? So that Mars Uranus energy was really strong over the past few years because we had that square with Saturn too. And I just remember Mars would come in and set it off, and it was like, oh my gosh, like car wrecks for my kids. I think 2 car wrecks happened on those. Mars Uranus Saturn thing. It was just like,
Mars and fire. Do you want to burn the house down?
Yeah. Watch fires. Watch your fires.
So
that reminds me of like a forest fire, right? Should we predict a forest fire in the middle of summer? No.
Well, you said the word courage, and I think
Taurus' Earth. Go ahead. Sorry.
Mars, absolutely courage, and in Leo, courage. A Mars in Leo by itself, it's like, I'm fed up. I want to dig in my heels. I need to make a change with something. I'm going to honor myself and go have that conversation, right?
Yes.
That's beautiful. Now add Mercury to it, and I'm going to.
Are you talking about me?
I'm going to now incorporate. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to sit down, and it's not like an Aries Mars, right? It's a Leo Mars, so there's still some regal quality to it. There's still, we're going to work something out. But then you add Uranus, to that, and you mentioned speed. Well, Mercury is the fastest planet. It's your mind. Mars is, the switch just gets flipped on and you go. And Uranus is crazy, lightning. And so I just think,
out of nowhere.
So courage is beautiful, but I just wonder if this is like, so we're having a drink at the lunch table, and someone says something, and I slam down my Diet Dr. Pepper and get up and walk into the boss's office and like give him the what for, like interesting. Or driving, or any situation.
Driving's a good one.
Yeah, where maybe practice counting to 10 before you go do something. Try and think it through a little bit and see what you can come up with. See what's behind it. What's motivating some of that action and energy.
I think that's totally probable or possible if people listen, because what you just said is totally just beautiful, because Mercury is involved. And that is a great positive delineation of what could happen if you took a moment to pause and think through. Mercury's thinking and Mars is that action, and Uranus is fast. So it's like, try to program in your mind over the weekend, because are we already feeling this energy?
Yeah, it's already. Yeah, they're already. It doesn't just happen on 2:00 on Monday.
Yeah, I'm trying to look.
It's building.
So Mars is at 18 today, 1840. And this happens at 21. So yes, this is building as of today, Wednesday. And, I'm starting to like Rob's ancient astrology a little more. So I'm loving some of the structure in it. So it is within those 3 degrees. Do not make fun of me.
I'm not. I was just thinking about our earlier conversation. We had reference to conversation this morning where things got a little bit heated, and And I just think about, did we realize the energies were affecting us as we were
Oh,
talking?
oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It kind of did. It fits.
Yep.
It's all this. Yes.
So I think that's just kind of funny.
Yeah, it was totally because Mercury, it was the Mercury Mars combination at 9:22 a.m., which is funny if you know our if you know our timeline. That's actually really funny. Um so it is building up to this square with Uranus, which, if you do use that mind energy, like how can you, so maybe think about things that happen today, because Mercury is a little quicker, right? And how can you use, like what you said, like this is a great, we're doing Hump Day. So this is a great tool for people. How can they use this? Let me take off these glasses so you don't have the glare. How can they use this? How can you, get this in your mind, kind of stuck in your mind, and realize, like, as Mars, Uranus can be explosive. It can be, I have a Uranus first house, and I'll tell you, my first answer to anyone telling me to do something is no. I have to kind of talk myself down a bit. Like if someone literally says do this, I'm like, nope. And I've been like that and my Mars and Uranus have a conversation in my chart, a sextile. So I think if I'm getting the degrees right, like, so, I mean, I live with this already, and my Mercury is there as well. So I'm just thinking about me, and like, it's in Leo, my Mars and Mercury are in Leo. And I do have to, I try to train myself to stop and think. Now there is a point where if that switch goes off, it's like done. And
Yeah.
so what I try really, really, really hard to do is notice, and this is like that sleigh energy I gave you, it comes in play with this, the sleigh bracelet. I tell people, if you feel it starting, remove yourself. Mars is kind of a solitary energy to some degree. It likes competition, it likes sports, but it likes to do what it wants to do and how it wants to do it. So if you need to remove yourself, and then strategize. How can I go back into that situation? Uranus is really good at seeing different ways to do things. And maybe, it's a great, I would call it a great problem solver. And there are lots of times in life you hit a problem, and I know my mind's like, okay, I got to look at this from a different direction. I need to circle back. So how can we do that? And I, just talking about it, I'm like, that maybe that's that Mars Uranus Mercury connection in my chart. I don't know, because I'm usually pretty good at stepping back and going, okay, different strategy. So I do give people that direction with the sleigh bracelet. Like if you start getting angsty, and there's actually been a couple times I've been around Rob where he's been wearing the Mars energy, and I've been like, I just feel pissed off. Why do I feel pissed off? And so I'm really, Rob has that on. So I'm like lathering myself with, it's okay, Venus.
Surprise! I wasn't wearing sleigh then.
Today?
I'm kidding.
It wasn't today,
No,
because there wasn't anything you were doing. We have these study sessions that we do a lot, and I'm just like, why am I mad?
Don't touch my scaly arm with my Mars.
You're like, that day you're like rubbing it on your arms. You're like, look at my scaly skin. I'm just like, stop. In my head, I'm like, please no more. It's great.
Well, that's the biggie. So
Yes.
I didn't have anything else. I don't know if you had anything else.
Well, the only thing I want to add maybe to that is just thinking through it. And I know I mentioned this to you, is the sun is in Cancer. right? And so the moon rules Cancer. So what is the moon doing right now? And the moon can be a trigger a lot. It can trigger stuff. It can trigger situations because it's emotions. And then it's also just used as a timer in astrology, like when is something going to happen? And I would think that's probably stronger when the sun's in Cancer. I'm not for sure, but we do have mutual reception right now. Can you believe I'm even saying that? Because the moon is in Leo.
Yeah.
Huh?
As a traditional
So
astrology language.
yes, the sun rules Leo, and that is where the moon is. And the moon rules Cancer, and that is where the sun is. So we do have that mutual reception. So I don't know if that will help with things. It will probably mitigate and help things a little bit. But we could, so the day that the moon hits all these planets that we've just talked about, the Mercury, the Mars, and the Uranus, is actually tomorrow, the 22nd, and they happen throughout the day. Happens throughout the day. So if I was to say watch stuff, I would probably say tomorrow and Monday as well. And we're already feeling it, like you said, it's building anyway. So do we feel a regal kinship, emotional entitlement tomorrow? Because the moon's going through there and our emotions get the best of us and we blow up or something. So that, and the moon is not in Cancer on Monday, but it will be tomorrow, or Leo, excuse me, tomorrow. It will be tomorrow, but not Monday.
So I want to hear people's experience with this Mars Uranus thing. So think about it, as it happens. Come back to where you saw the post and throw some comments out there. Was it a chill day for you? You didn't feel anything? And or did you get fired? Because you mouthed off at the boss, or what happened? Let us know, and it would be fun to be able to share some stories about that.
Interesting, interesting. I can maybe show that next. I'm trying to think of what Monday. Yeah, interesting. Just thinking of stuff in my life. So yes, please share those with us. We love to share them. We want more to share. If you watch any old Hump Days, share them. Share if you had experiences with any of the things that we highlighted or not, so that we can get on and help people experience them through different, Rob and I, we have different personalities, characteristics, wiring. We love sharing our stuff, but it broadens it when other people do as well.
Yep. All right. Then one more time, this Friday from 6:30 to 8:30, Inquest Night from Astrology Club of Utah, which we're both co-partners in doing that club. So come join us for that. And anything else?
Nope. Just like, follow, post, comments so that we have stuff to share.
Yep. Very cool. Thank you all. Thank you, Susan. And
thank you.
See y'all later.
Bye.